What is up, everybody? Welcome to Shared Screens Elite 4, Shared Screens only and brand new Pokemon exclusive show where we talk all things Pokemon. And within Shared Screens Elite 4, we have a very special journey going on. We have The Road to Victory, a podcast where we go around looking for what the perfect/dream Pokemon game is. I gave mine in the first episode earlier last month, and today we have Austin's. Joining us today is from also Shared Screens, RumblePack92, Chris LePack, and Alec Bobko.
Heyo.
How's everyone doing tonight?
I just dropped something on the floor.
Oh,
Great
no.
start. Great start. I do want to say,
Monday.
Jordan, way to host. Like that was a really good intro. I think you nailed that. Good stuff.
Thank you.
We're done. We can turn it off now.
We did the thing. Love it.
All right. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. All right. That's good. As always, we're going to start with some Pokemon icebreakers. So last time we did like the basic ones because it was the first episode. So I have some more interesting ones today.
Cool.
First one, we'll start basic, is favorite type. Second is funniest Pokemon mistake you made, because we play Pokemon as kids and kids are respectfully fucking idiots. And the third one is the earliest piece of Pokemon memorabilia you remember owning, because I had one pop in recently. So just to start from the top, my favorite type personally is electric. Sure. Again, I'm a shocky boy. I like the color schemes. I like the vibes that they give off.
Hit him with the boom zap.
Exactly. I just like the idea that like how you could set everything on fire. It's like, nah, man, I just want to use electricity on everything.
Valid.
The funniest Pokemon mistake I've made, and I'm going to give two examples so you guys can know what I'm talking about. One I've definitely mentioned on content before, but it's that when I was a kid, I would kind of just read most of the letters and improvise what the word was. And so I thought Suicune was Susuine. Mm-hmm. I would just be playing Pokemon Crystal. I was like, yep, Entei, Raikou, and Susuine, and I'll still
your brain just kind of autofills the rest of it.
You'll slip up.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yep.
And the other one, and this one, it just has such a funny story. And I know that you guys aren't the biggest Gen 4 people, but Gen 4, like Gen 3, also had Pokemon contests. And in the Pokemon contests, you could perform your move in front of, I think it's like a dude named like Mr. Pokemon or Mr. something. Like it's somebody with a title. It's that town's Nurse Joy. And then there was a third person, and I don't know who the third person is like supposed to be. But I'm not going to get into the detail of the third person, because one time my friend's talking, because me and him would play the contests together. Like we would be in the same contest. And he'd be like, who do you usually perform the moves for? Because like the whole thing was like, there are 4 contestants but 3 judges, so whoever uses the same judge gets a penalty.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I always just perform it for myself, like, because I'm the trainer. I want he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, look at the options. And it's what happened was that one of the judges' names was Jordan, and I thought it was my character. And so I thought on my friend's DS, the judge's name was like whatever his name was. And like, I think I played through Sinnoh twice, because I played Pearl and then Platinum. I think I found out in Platinum because I used the same name both times.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have just made yourself win if you're a judge. I mean, might as well.
Honestly, that was the logic I had.
Can't lose.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris, let's go to you next.
Favorite type is hard to narrow down, because a lot of my favorite Pokemon are kind of spread across different types. Like you look at like Charizard, Machamp, Mewtwo, like that sort of thing. Like it's tough to pick. I think it's every time I start, like I play a new Pokemon game for the first time, I always go with the Fire starter, because Charmander was my original boy back in the 90s. But I don't know that Fire is really my favorite type. I just have a lot of favorite Fire Pokemon. If I had to go with favorite type, probably Fighting type. I love that.
I can see that.
I love the idea of all these Pokemon have, some have psychic abilities, some are ghosts and can breathe fire and control water and electricity. And then you get Hitmonchan in there and he's like, my ability is to beat the ever living fuck out of you. That's what I'm going to do.
Hell yeah.
My Pokemon ability is these 2 hands.
I don't know why, Chris. I love the idea for you that like you're like a Pokemon fighting specialist OC is not that you're into like boxing and fitness, but it's that you're so into fighting games that your Pokemon are also fighting
That's part of
types.
it. Genuinely, that really is part of it. Like you think of was it Gen 7 or Gen 8 with B, the fighting game gym leader. Uh,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
when Sword and Shield are coming out, they released a bunch of like animated shorts, like centered around a bunch of the gym leaders and stuff. And so there was one for B, and like her whole thing is that she like spars with her Machamp and stuff, and is like up training in
Yep.
the mountains with her fighting type Pokemon. And I was like, that's rad. I love that.
That's
That's
sick.
so
Yeah.
cool.
You're
B
also a lunatic.
It just makes me think of Ash and Mewtwo, where Ash is just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna throw
Hell
hands with
yeah.
Mewtwo." And it's like the Pokemon
These
ain't working.
hands are
Let's
super
go.
effective.
I'm at dire straits right now. I still got these hands.
Yeah.
So let's get
Yeah,
it.
he's like, "You got my Pokemon, but you ain't got these."
You would love
Special delivery.
B's arc in the Journeys anime because it's pivoting with like Ash fights her multiple times and like literally learns with his Riolu, which is another fighting type. Like you'd love it.
I like
But
that. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll have to check
continue.
that out. That's really sick. I don't know that I really have like a Pokemon mishap like that early on. But I can give you one of my sisters if that helps.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean,
There's no rules. There's no
yeah,
rules.
There's no rules.
exactly. Because it was the first thing I thought of to where I don't remember whether it was an event or maybe I like cheated it into the game, but I had this Mew and I was like trading a bunch of like great Pokemon to my brother and sister so they could have some fun, right? And I gave my sister this Mew. And I check on her like a couple days later. I'm like, hey, how are you liking the Pokemon I got you? Like, are they really fun? And she's like, oh yeah, here, you want to take a look at them? And I see this Mew that I traded her, all HMs, just all of them HMs. It had it had like cut, strength, surf, and something else, and then and like flash. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like,
I
what?
mean,
I need to use these moves, and I'm like, yeah, but on Mew.
Yeah.
Mew can learn every move, so in a way, Mew ultimate
It was
HM
brilliant,
slave.
really. You know, brilliant, really. It's if I had like a personal mishap, like I started playing the games before I could read, so
Uh-huh.
like I just kind of ran around a bunch and just pressed buttons like the very first time I played it. I was like just learning to read. I vividly remember like reading characters' names and stuff and then not being able to comprehend any of the dialogue whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
And so like, oh, actually, here you go. Because I was just learning to read, I never. It took me like a year to pick up on the fact. You know how in the old games when people start talking, it has like their name, and then like all the dialogue. So it's that you know who's talking. I thought they were just saying their names at the beginning of every sentence. Where I was like, yeah, yeah. Oh, Kai. So they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So that's mine. I guess there's a couple. You could pick any one of those.
Jordan, that's really good, Chris. Oh wait, I forgot to do the Pokemon memorabilia one. Yeah, wow, I forgot that one myself. For
Oh
me,
yeah,
it was growing up, and like if you want to talk about like, yeah, you had Pokemon like before you could read, as did I. I had a how to count with Pokemon book.
rad.
It yeah, and I looked them up recently, and you can still get them kind of cheap. So like, if I have a kid soon, not like soon, but like soon in terms of like human time, you know,
Sure.
absolutely getting that for the kid. But do you remember yours, Chris?
I don't remember what my first one was. And I had a lot. Like I was the direct target audience for it at the time.
Oh, even the Pop-Tart
a
Pokemon
young
then. It
child
was great.
in the 90s. Like I was in it. My dad was into it as well because he was like 23 when the games came out, right? And so I just had a lot of Pokemon shit growing up. So I don't remember what my first is. I do still have like this is probably the oldest bit of memorabilia I have, which is a little Pokeball. It's flat on the bottom so it can stand up, right? And it opens and it's actually like this electronic game.
Yeah, I remember these.
It's
You can never go wrong with a Pokeball. Like even if they're cheap, it's
holy
like this
shit,
still looks
the
cool.
battery's still working it.
Woohoo!
I don't know whether the game itself will work, but it's got like this gyroscope thing to where
I heard something.
it did make a noise.
Mayday.
To where all of these will like light up, and it's got this gyroscope, so you got to tilt it to get the light into the center, and then you press both of these buttons, and it catches whatever Pokemon is up top. and then you just
That's
catch a
cool.
bunch of
I'm
Pokemon.
into that.
It's a dumb little game from the '90s, but
Yeah.
I do it's a great looking Pokeball still, and actually used this in an Ash cosplay when my wife and I dressed up as Ash and Misty, and then we went to go meet Veronica Taylor. So that was
Hell
very
yeah.
cool.
Really cool.
She was also super rad because I mean we were just dating at the time, but and we mentioned that we were, and Veronica was like, wow, so now whenever fans ask if Ash and Misty ever got together, I can tell them they did. Because she met us, and I was like,
I would break down fucking crying.
oh yeah, it was magical. I'm gonna be 100.
I love that. All right. Alec, what about you?
Typing is a tough one for me just because I don't really necessarily have one, but if I had to pick, I would probably have to go with either maybe like ground or maybe psychic. Ground
Ground's
just has a
good
lot of
one,
like
yeah.
powerful type, like and then psychic just has a lot of really cool Pokemon. Like there's a lot of really unique ones there.
Hypno.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hypno, Alakazam.
That's the only one. That's it.
That's it. You know.
The most famous psychic type Pokemon.
I wanted to pull out just a fucking random one, dude.
Girafarig. Farigiraf now, I guess.
Mr. Mime.
It evolves
Yeah,
into Farigiraf, which
Yep.
is
Yeah.
better. I love it.
Yes. Wait, yeah, actually
Jinx, Smoochum.
Smooch.
Oh, God. I try not to think about them.
viable.
I
Metagross.
forgot Smoochum existed.
Metagross is psychic. Yeah. But,
Farigiraf's psychic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as like the mishap or whatever, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I guess it was just more not really knowing like what types do what, like basically like, or not knowing like type effectiveness essentially. Like I always forget just what resists what.
Me too. Still to this day, I still look up a chart every once in a while. Like I'm like 90% sure. Like yes, this is what it is, but I still look it up.
I feel like I know all the big ones, but occasionally like a type combination will happen. I'm like, oh, I don't know, like off the top of my head, like, oh fuck, what's ground's relation to bug again? Like I'll fucking forget.
It's nice while like I think it started with Sword and Shield. It might have been in Sun and Moon, but when they put like the super effective, not very effective, like in when you're choosing your attack.
Yeah, Sun and Moon, I had it like straight up written, and I think the other games have just started to use like colors.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But as far as memorabilia, I actually have one.
Ooh, we're gonna see something cool. You think he's gonna pull out one of the Burger King like gold things?
Well,
I still have
that's
those two, actually.
what first came to mind. I don't have that, but what I do have is a little Charizard figure.
I had that toy! Ah!
So yeah,
Super
just
cool.
kind of sits on my shelf. But yeah, it's just a little Charizard guy.
I had that
love
one.
that.
Did it come in like a 3-pack where it was like Charmander,
Yeah.
Charmeleon, and Charizard? Yeah, it was so sick.
I don't know where Charmander or Charmeleon went, but I made sure to keep Charizard.
Love that.
Super cool.
One thing I don't like is how he just looks up,
Yeah, no,
he's
he's
yawning. He's
Yeah.
yawning.
right? Or I always played with like as a kid as flying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta use your imagination when you're a kid.
Exactly.
Gotta make it work. Gotta make it work.
Make a because it's like why the heck did they make his head go straight up?
Maybe
Unless
he's
it's-
snooty, so he's always like,
Or unless
I mean, in the 90s, yeah, you know.
just saying.
yeah. But
Ash's
my
Charizard
thought
was
is
like,
in the intro where he's like breathing fire straight up, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. That
Oh
might be
yeah,
it.
Probably his
yeah.
best
I
friend.
think that was like the OG like key art for him.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, nothing too crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of good ground type Pokemon. So just
Definitely.
don't sleep on the ground type.
I feel like ground is underutilized, so I think that's a good pull. I like that.
Sand Shrew.
Yeah,
Sand
there's
Slash, I
a
really like.
quick side tangent. There's a Pokemon ROM hack. I think it's called This Gym of Mine. And
Yeah.
basically it's you building up the or becoming a gym leader, and you get to pick a type. And I remember choosing ground type for that. And there's some real good choices for when you start out for being a ground type
Sure.
trainer for that. So
That's cool.
definitely want to check out. It's a really cool one.
It's nifty.
Yeah.
I like it.
Ground types are fun. I've always liked Rhyhorn.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. And for the man whose dream game we're going to be hearing about today, Austin, let's do your icebreakers.
All right. So favorite type, like as a kid, like just the generic answer was fire. Like that was just always my go-to. Like I feel like that's kind of like what everyone starts out with, at least
Fire's
giving it a
cool.
go. Yeah. It was the coolest option, so that's what I went with.
Especially Gen 1, like
Um,
there's not a lot of fire Pokemon either, so like it was kind of like
Yeah.
the thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like for a long time it was just fire, but I think the older I got, I like poison. Like I just like poisoning bitches. I think it makes the game a lot easier. So like if I ever do kind of struggle with something, I just poison them and then have a lot of health items. Just wait for this bitch to die, kind of a thing. But yeah, so like think about it when I got older, it was probably that. But then if I really wanted an answer, I guess the answer would be dark, just because I always like kind of like making dark Pokemon be good. Like having an Umbreon be like, oh no, they're in the shadow zone. Like, nope, this is the good Umbreon. I'm always like a sucker for that kind of storyline. So then I have my own in canon lore for that kind of stuff.
It's a friendly neighborhood Umbreon.
Yep, exactly. That's one and only. And for like mistakes, similar to Jordan, I was a dumb kid trying to read. So Far-Fetched was Ferretched D for me.
Yeah.
Ferretched D's nuts.
Ferretched D. You said that every time I tell this story, you say the same goddamn joke.
And you walk into it every time.
It's
What do you
funny
want from me?
every
What do you want me to
single
do?
It's funny every single time.
God damn it. But yeah, so Far-Fetched is just Ferretched D in my brain, which makes absolutely no goddamn sense. At least your mistake, you made it a word. I just said Ferretched with a D at the end. That was the full name for Far-Fetched.
I originally thought it was
Sir Ferretched D for his evolution.
Yeah, Sir Ferretched D is Sir.
Yeah.
You think it was like an initial, like
I don't know.
Far-Fetched D, Smith, like
no, there was zero thought
Harry
put into
S.
that.
Truman, Far-Fetched D.
Zero thought put into that. Just read it once, and that's what it was. Boom.
To be fair, it's a strange name for like a
really
9-year-old kid to try and
for them
I
to put
thought it was far-fetched.
Way closer than mine.
Yeah, because it's like, and obviously they're different generations, but it's like, what's the apostrophe supposed to do for the sound? Because like for alligator, they couldn't fit in the full word of like gator, so they just misspelled it, and like it was like that for I think till now, or they fixed it like recently.
Still is, yeah.
I think it's still that way. Yeah. I don't think they ever put the O in for alligator.
I never even realized that. So here we are.
Remember when they gave him an ass?
No.
Oh yeah, they just
the
dump truck. Yeah,
I'm gonna say this someday, and my grandkids are gonna be like, "It's time to put him in a home." But like the Gen 3 for alligator sprite had a butt, like it had cheeks, bro. It was double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon.
Out of his mind, dude.
Yeah, look it up.
What was the last one? Memorabilia. Yeah.
Yes.
You brought up as a joke like the gold bars or whatever. That was one that popped to mind. I feel like everyone kind of had that.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if this counts as memorabilia, but I had a VHS tape that was like 3 random episodes of the anime. And the one I remember, no, there's 2 I remember. One was something, it's when James gets Magikarp and he thinks it's like a big deal. And he goes through that whole scene of like announcing
Same arc, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the other one is when Ash has to ride Ponyta for a race.
Yep.
I think.
And he has to get it to trust it so the fire doesn't burn
starts
him.
burning him at first, but then it trusts him. It's a really good episode, actually. I actually really remember that, like liking that one. The third one, I have no idea what it was, to be really honest. But those 2 I remember watching like on repeat pretty often. So memorabilia, I don't know, but I had that VHS tape for
I still have
way
my
longer than
VHS tape for the first movie.
Sure.
I don't have my VHS of the original movie anymore. I'd have to ask my mom if I still have like the episode, because I had a couple tapes as well that had like 3 episodes on them. I had the whole like Sabrina arc on one, and then the Celadon City arc on the other.
That might have been the episode that I had, because I remember when he fights Abra for the first time. It's been
a long time since I've watched it.
It's been a minute. But
It's like I remember like Ash trying to like dress up as a girl to get into the Celadon City gym because there was no boys allowed. That was also, I think, in the Celadon arc, they also had found like a beauty store like run by Jesse and James as a way to like steal people's Pokemon.
Okay.
I remember the
I have a really, really funny story to tell, but it's not a story for the podcast.
All right, we'll say write a reminder, and I'm excited to hear it afterwards.
Just like the
about this audience.
It's just the timing of this is so great. Oh god,
I do feel Like I remember the Metapod fight, like just two Metapods using Harden over and over again.
Classic.
Classic.
Just guys being
Yeah.
dudes.
Yeah, we didn't have,
No, mine will do it better. No, mine will do it better.
we didn't have the actual like branded VHS tapes. It was just the ones that my parents always recorded like a few episodes on. So whatever that was on
Nice.
that Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that means you get the commercial breaks in there too.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I do
man, I
remember
miss
my-
90s commercials, dude.
Shout out to my mom. I remember her not very tech savvy, looking for a long time to find the DVD for the first movie, for Pokemon the first movie.
Oh
And
nice.
for a while, apparently it was hard to find, or she couldn't do it very well. But she eventually figured it out and got it for like my birthday one year.
It wasn't available for a really long time.
Maybe that was it.
Because
but
it was
there a
probably
minute where
it was
hard.
originally probably VHS only, right? I imagine.
Yeah,
It
still
started,
does
it
that.
started as VHS only. I have this cool little like steelbook set that's got the first 3 movies in it, which is really really sick. All on Blu-ray, which is really nice.
They go downhill
But that
after
was
that
like the
anyway.
first time I'd ever seen those movies even released on DVD. Like it took all the way up until like 2015 or something.
No, I
Yeah,
remember.
it was
I remember that
pretty
being announced. Yeah.
It is like the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
I have the VHS for this before we get going into the main thing, but the VHS for the fourth Pokemon movie, the one with Celebi and
Forever.
Yeah.
I've been trying to watch that one recently, and there's not. It's like I rewatched the third one a couple weeks ago. That's on Amazon Prime for free if you have Prime with video.
Oh, cool.
Or no, maybe I did rent it for like
Is that
$3.
the one?
Either
Is that
way,
the one with young Professor Oak? Was that forever?
Celebi's is the one with young
That's
Professor
Forever.
The third
Yeah.
one is Entei.
Entei.
The third one is
Yeah, no.
Entei. Yeah. The fourth
Yeah.
one. I was like,
I bet-
that's it.
yeah.
Celebi and Oak. Okay, yeah.
And I've been wanting to rewatch that because I don't remember a single thing about that movie, but I'm sure I've seen it.
Is that Forever? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that he had a Charmeleon, and I was like, that's a good choice. Like, we don't get enough of him. Like, thank you.
Yeah. And it's just like it's one of the things where it's like I need to. There's not a good rip of it anywhere online.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nobody cared enough about it. What a shame.
Yeah, I think it was.
Rightfully
I think
I think that was the first one that like wasn't in theaters.
Yeah.
Like, it was TV only.
the middle ones I think were released by Miramax, so there's a whole bunch of fucking legal issues with their copyright.
That makes sense.
Complicated. Anyway, Austin, I'm gonna use baton pass and move it to Austin.
Wow.
Because
He
boom,
said the thing.
I did it. I made the
I
pun.
can't believe he actually did that. I'm going to
It's
leave the podcast now.
Time for you to take over and tell us about your dream Pokemon game because that's what we're all here
buff
for.
too.
I can't. God damn it.
If you had any things, it doesn't actually buff stats; it just passes them over. So
I hate this. I hate this.
I
You
think
have
it's
Crohn's
enough.
disease now.
Jesus Christ. Of all things. I was expecting like depression. No, Crohn's disease. That's okay.
Oh, shit.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
You want me to start now? Now you want me to do the actual podcast? Are you fucking insane?
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Yeah. Okay, so little precursor before we actually get started. I have 90 to 95% of my idea, and I figured the last 5% you guys can just help me kind of figure it out.
Ooh, I like that.
I have most of it. It's more like lore nitpicky stuff that I don't have. Like I want this to happen, but I don't know how quite how it's gonna happen. So we'll get there. So my title. Well, before I get into this, my dream Pokemon game is something that was similar to Jordan, so I kind of went a different direction. I kind of teased it in the last episode. I was like, what if there's something to do with Team Rocket? And you're kind of like with Team Rocket. I kind of teased that last time, if you guys recall.
Tease Rocket.
Tease Rocket. Ooh, no, God, why? Okay. So
Oh,
my
he
working
liked that
title.
so bad he froze.
Oh no, it killed him.
oh no, he's dead.
Damn, I didn't even get to put. Oh, he's back. Oh, no, now he's real.
Technical difficulties.
Damn,
How you
Austin
guys
didn't even get to hear me. He didn't even get to hear me say Team Rocket's edging off again.
So I'm gonna go. This has been really fun. So we just gonna cut this bit out or what?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Slight technical difficulties, but luckily we were not far into the pitch. Chris made a dumb joke that killed Austin for a second, but we're back.
He's
Austin.
dead. Rest in peace.
Yep, blame Chris. It's all Chris's fault.
I can
Okay,
still hear
so
his voice.
My working title, again, Team Rocket was sort of like the tease that I gave off earlier, is Pokemon Prepare for Trouble. And I like that title a lot. But if it's too on the nose, I get it.
No,
But
that's awesome.
I do have one
unreleased.
question. Is it a dual release, and is the other one a Pokemon and
make it double?
Double.
I mean, it could be. It could be. I don't have that planned, but now I might have to double in size. Here we go. It's Pokemon. So
boom.
So okay, that's the working title. Again, it could be too on the nose if we vote that we like it too much.
It's Pokemon. Everything's on the nose.
I mean, it's not subtle.
Okay, so the thing I started with was it is HD 2D,
like nose
because
pass.
everyone wants a Pokemon in this style. Why not actually just give it to them? And what a better way to not a better way to test a style than with like a slightly different style of game. So HD 2D for me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
My next note is having a dickhead rival.
Yes.
Because you're with Team Rocket, you are a bad guy. So keep that in mind. You also have a dickhead rival. But because you're a bad guy, I was like, okay, I guess it makes sense for us to have another rival who is actually a genuine good person, a genuine trainer who sees the good in you. Like the guy that's so good, he's annoying. That's kind of what I want out of that.
You need the mentor to be like, you're better than this, son. It's not your
even
fault.
Not even that. It's like, you'll get him next time, sport. And he's like, you got it. And he always comes in and saves the day type of thing. You're like, God damn it, fuck this guy. But so you have two rivals. One is a genuine dickhead, and the other one is kind of like someone who sees the better in you and is annoying about it. My next note is make it mature, which I know a lot of people have been asking for, and I don't know how that would be, except for just while the writers are writing this script, just don't write it how you normally would. Write it like a teenage film, at least, not just genuinely for kids rated G, if that makes sense.
Like a PG-13.
So you're there you go. Undercover in Team Rocket is my next note, and I'm like, for who are we undercover for? This is one of the things I don't have like written down. So if you're undercover for someone but you're in Team Rocket, who should you what makes sense?
Looker.
Yeah, Looker.
And who is Looker again?
He is
the detective?
Detective, yeah. He originally appeared in Gen 4, but he's been in all the other games. Well, I think all the other games except the two most recent ones, but like he was in 6 through 7 as well.
Okay.
Or 5, 6 through 7 as well.
So with that being the easiest answer, does that answer also make sense?
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
Because he's essentially, think of him like kind of a federal agent, but like super undercover.
He says international police, which is why he's allowed to go from region to region. And so like,
oh, this guy. Okay.
Yeah. And I think
I also know there's like a fan theory that he's like related to like Doctor Who in some way as well.
I think he's supposed to be based off of him. And then like,
that makes sense.
He also, I read recently that like his lines only in the English version are written to be like, he like as if English is his second language, like it has slight mistakes and like funny ways of saying things because he's international. So it's like in all the versions but the Japanese one, he has like essentially an accent.
Okay. So basically we just need one line where he's like mentioned and our character kind of like
it could be just you could be working for the international police, like maybe like it's now led by a Looker, so he's too high up for you to meet directly.
Sure. I like that. Okay. Yeah, I didn't have that down, and I couldn't remember his name. If
so
I'm
it's
being honest,
Pokemon 21 Jump Street is what you're telling me.
That's so yeah, even more mature.
Schmidt fucked the professor's daughter. Schmidt fucked the professor's daughter.
And here's God damn it. I hate having to follow that shit and be like semi not professional, but like actually carry on the podcast.
Right.
Okay. So here's kind of like the kicker. Not the kicker is a negative thing, but this is what I think will be like the carrying force. Like so you see the title and you're like, ooh, that's intriguing. But you are actively fighting against the good guys in this game. So you are doing shitty things to remain undercover, and you are essentially like enslaving Pokemon throughout this game, right? Like that's what you're doing. You're fighting against the trainers that are trying to do good. So that is something you have to like fight with. With that, there will be a morality system. Ooh. And you have to actually like balance this morality system. If you go too onto the negative, you essentially like you're no longer undercover, right? You're just
join Team Rocket.
You're in the sauce. If you're too good, they'll find you out. So you have to maintain a balance. And if you don't maintain this balance, it becomes like easier or harder in a way to where you get a game over. Does that make sense?
So if you get 5 stars, did like the Elite Four show up?
That'd be really cool. It's just like Lance shows up.
It's like, you know what? You're fucked.
So you have to, it's not like the typical morality system where it's like good or bad, but you have to find a balance in it without being
cool. So the goal is to stay neutral.
Essentially, but again, I think it would probably lean bad. Like the middle of the thing would be like here's your full thing. You want to lean over here.
You know, avoid suspicion, but you're also like, you know, you're still doing bad things like on purpose.
You're punching a random Charmander in the face every once in a while, just to not blow your cover.
So
just,
in your head,
lily pups.
How do you see yourself? Like, do you see yourself maintaining that balance by having a line that you don't cross, or do you see it as like, oh yeah, no, I'll steal the Pokemon during the day, but at night, like, I'll secretly re-release them back to their trainers and be like, oops, they found me.
It's a balance of that. Like me being like a Fallout fan, like you can do a bunch of small little things that make you make your morality go good karma or bad karma. Like there's a bunch of little things you can do, but there's also like key story moments where you have a dialogue choice, which will kind of like dictate how you're going about that moment.
Yeah, very Knights of the Old Republic. I like that.
Yes, but Pokemon.
So Pokemon, here we are. Yeah.
But maintaining
Pokemon
that balance is like the the key thing. No, prepare for trouble. Prepare for trouble. And then I wanted a relationship system, and I have that with Pokemon. That's not what I mean. like modern games to an extent. So like the reason I want this is because your Pokemon aren't going to like you because you're being a bad person. So I want that to be represented, like how in like the early games, maybe in the modern games, I just don't do this often. When you trade Pokemon, they like don't listen to you until you hit like a certain level or whatever.
Yeah.
Like something similar to that. Like they just literally won't listen to you, or they'll attack you instead, kind of a thing. Like I want that to kind of be in there.
Or
so
even
like,
in some of the newer ones, like if you like the higher your, I think, happiness or friendship is with the Pokemon, they'll be like, he survived the hit for you or something.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. So instead of that, it'd be like more like negative stuff,
right?
Because you're being
loafing around more.
That's the whole idea. Yep. Yeah. So like the battles themselves won't be that difficult, but like the whole multipliers on like the negative karma or morality system is what's going to hurt you, and as well as like how the happiness meter is so low with your Pokemon. That's where the difficulty falls in.
Is it possible to find a Pokemon that likes being evil?
Sure.
Like Meowth?
I kind of thought about that a little bit, and my thing is like yes, but I mean, by the time you get to the end of my game, you'll understand why that's probably not a great idea.
The lesson is Pokemon can be assholes too.
And maybe you just leave that Meowth on the side of the street. You're like, fuck this Meowth, man. He was too into this.
That's egging me on, bro. I had to let him go.
And then in terms of like the actual play style, because I said we're in HD 2D. In my mind, it's a mix of like the reminiscent of like the past RPGs, but it has a catching mechanic similar to Arceus, because I really love that catching mechanic. So you can still kind of sneak around and do that, but the HD 2D is sort of the view I picture is HD 2D, but like let's go. Because I like how you can see the Pokemon in the wild. You can still kind of sneak up on them. So you can utilize the catching mechanic from Arceus. It's just in a more, I don't want to say archaic, but in a way, it's like less intuitive, I would say.
It's not like, let's say, live aiming, but more like you can choose to sneak up and then select a catch.
Yep. And I would have it be you're kind of aiming, but yeah, it's not to the extent of what Arceus was. But I want it to feel like Arceus, just essentially HD 2D and top down for an extent, to an extent.
I like it.
Okay.
In terms of starters, because that's also like a really nifty thing. I was kind of torn on this because I want the starter to be meaningful, but also I kind of want them to be like the typical Team Rocket starters, like Rattata and like maybe like an Ekans or like a Houndour or something like that. Like I was a coughing.
Yeah.
So I was kind of fighting with this. Could be a Zubat, yeah. I don't know. Maybe give you a bunch of options, but I just don't know how narratively that would work. But so I'm a little torn with the starters, but I think just because of the theme of the game, I would probably fall back to, it'd be something like Rattata or Zubat or Houndour or something like that. So
gotcha.
That's what my gut says. There are gyms, but that's more like post-game stuff. I'll get into that. Instead of like having gyms, there are like what I call storyline battles, where these are where your key karma and morality system will come into play, but also this is when you're fighting like a good guy essentially, and this is where like the more challenging battles will come into play, even with the challenge is already there with like the morality system already in play and the happiness meters of your Pokemon. So you have storyline battles, and you also have like normal ass battles where you're just going around kicking the youngster Jimmy over here is giving you shit, so you're beating his ass and taking all his money. Just to fit in, of course. You don't enjoy it, nothing like that. You're just
definitely not.
My next note, a mixture of Let's Go and Arceus catching mechanic. We're going to that. See them in the world, but can utilize stealth and other items when catching from top-down-ish view. So yeah, another thing that we didn't get to is like specifically items. Like I did enjoy how Arceus had like, you have like the really heavy ball and you have the really light ball and you can like literally throw shit at them and distract them. Like I like that aspect of it a lot. So really leaning into that Arceus thing, just HD2D, which I feel like I've said way too much, but that's okay. Okay, so I feel like this is basically all the bare bones stuff of my title, but we're already down to the final battle. So here we go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
The final battle is you losing to your dickhead rival. You lose, but he has a legendary. So the good rival joins you and helps you defeat him 2v2 style. This leads to a Fast and Furious type moment where the good rival lets you escape.
I'm in. How much money?
Ooh, that's awesome.
I mean, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, like Dom and Brian, right?
Yeah.
You better get out of here, and then right after they dodge the train,
You hear the sirens, and they're like, "Fine, go."
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So I don't know what legendary we've had. So that's another thing where I wanted your guys' help. What legendary makes sense for like a Team Rocket thing? I didn't want to do Mewtwo because I feel like that's too on the nose. I just didn't know exactly what legendary to use, or if we do a new legendary. And on that, it's like, okay, well, I don't know what region we're in either, so we have to workshop those two things.
If it's something where like the good guy stepped in because the dickhead rival like lost control of the legendary, I imagine it's got to be something like either like that has like a history of being like out of control or destructive. Like Darkrai comes to mind.
Right when you started talking, I was like, Darkrai makes
So
a lot of sense too, from what you're getting at.
Here's my pitch on that. Which I think that if you look at like Red, Blue, and Gold, and Silver, like Mewtwo is so like intricately involved in Team Rocket's story. I think it, especially because like in new games, there's usually a new legendary. I think it would be cool if they attempted to recreate Mewtwo again.
Ooh.
But you have like this like
like a monstrosity.
Yeah, just this thing that's like they went too far. They tried to go too big, and they can't control it, and nobody can.
Do you?
I don't remember. Is Mew 3 a thing?
No.
Was that like a?
I remember
like
a lot of people thinking that Mega
Megas?
Mewtwo Y was Mew 3 because we just got the key.
Is this just Mew 3?
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, this could be Mew 3. We can give him a better name, but like,
I mean, what also comes to mind.
Concept. Sure, I'm into it.
What also comes to mind to me is not just a Mew 3, but the way that there was Silvally, which was a failed attempt to create Arceus, like Type Null and Silvally, kind of a Pokemon like that's like another failed Mewtwo, but it's a completely different Pokemon.
Yeah,
and I think it works for the Team Rocket thing, especially like I don't know. I think it's still like a fan theory where like obviously they were like trying to create Mewtwo like on Cinnabar Island, and there's lots of like Dittos and stuff, and whose like base stats are just like worse versions of Mews, and that Dittos are kind of like the result of all of the testing that they did on Mew, like that sort of thing. I think that all kind of works within that vibe. I see Alec cooking something over there though.
Yes,
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So, being the whole Team Rocket vibe, they know Celebi is the time Pokemon.
Okay.
So they want to go back in time to get Giovanni.
Ooh.
So they're trying to recreate Celebi. Trying to recreate Celebi to get the time powers.
Celebi.
Oh.
Get the time powers.
I do feel like Celebi hasn't been like super prominent in the games anyway.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Celebi,
where he's the guy. Yeah.
That's a good
like that a
idea.
lot.
Part of me,
Recreating Celebi. Yeah.
there's also
You can even have a scene where you walk through the lab. There's a bunch of like what looks like a Mewtwo, what looks like something else, and you have that scene where just the horrors of science
in Mandalorian when they go to the Imperial base. You see all the dead Snokes.
Oh my god, you just see
Giancarlo
Esposito in a Pokemon game.
Yes, dude.
I also think
from
that it's
Far Cry
like
6 to Pokemon.
honestly, moving up. That's a move up.
Yeah.
Do we just follow the Mewtwo thing and call it Celebi 2? Celebi but better.
To Celeb 2B.
Dude, God damn it! I was gonna make the same fucking joke.
There's part of me that goes, kind of like keep it simple, stupid, and you go, what if it is just Mewtwo, but the dickhead rival, like it's very much a like fed into that dark side that Mewtwo has of just like, no, you should go get your revenge, and like kind of lets Mewtwo take out all this rage, and it gets to a point where other people are going to get hurt, so you kind of have to contain him.
Like Mewtwo's been whispering to him like the One Ring. Like
Other way around. The dickhead rival
Oh,
was
sorry,
spring.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Alec won me over with the Celebi.
That's fair.
The Celebi one's cool.
No,
I
absolutely.
really think that one wins simply because we've had our Mewtwo moment.
Yeah.
We haven't really
We had
had
multiple
the
Mewtwo
Celebi
moments.
moment. Yeah, exactly.
And
So
Celebi,
I think Celebi deserves his time.
and Celebi like is kind of connected to Giovanni because of like the Celebi event in Heart Gold Soul Silver revealed where Giovanni went off to, and that Silver was his son. So like there is kind of still a relationship there that could be fleshed out and played with.
You could use that in the lores, like because of this encounter, blah blah blah. It led him to do this, and that's where we are now.
Trying to get Giovanni back in the game.
I like that a lot. Alec, you won me over. Thank you very much.
Hey.
I did
So
like those because
timeline-wise, like this takes place after like Gold and Silver and stuff. Okay.
In my last note, the thing I was struggling with was because Pokemon to me, you have to be collecting something. Like I don't see a Pokemon game existing, at least not a good one. Not like you can have spin-offs or do something else, but like a Pokemon game like this that I'm trying to pitch, you had to be collecting something. But I'm struggling with that here. My note reads as struggling with the collecting aspect. How do we still make that make sense? Something like bounties. Certain Pokemon are sought after, and you catch them. Could have a scene post game where it shows you rescuing them, or the post game itself, because Pokemon post games is almost like a must. Post game is more traditional, and you rescue the others. It could push players to play the post game and make up for the bad you did. So the post game is you making up for your crime.
That's cool.
And that's so the bounties throughout the game. And now you're going through and getting all of them back.
The post game is your 12-step program,
or your Pokedex in game is just other trainers' Pokemon.
Yeah, like Team Rocket's like go out and steal the rarest Pokemon you can find, and so like every trainer and their mother has a Pidgey, but only this one dude has a Charizard because apparently they only hand out one of those a year.
I just have a really big backpack. Well, who needs a Pokedex when I got all this
something
shit that I stole?
Thought of when you're talking about progress, because like all these evil teams have all the admins, so it could be doing like certain jobs for the admins. That's kind of like the progress through the game.
Yeah, and maybe there's more than just bounties, but yeah, I like that. I like that as well. Where you're basically the core aspect is like you're collecting something. I don't know what they are. They're all bad. They're all shit. They're all terrible. But the post game is you making up for that, like
and that's what
you're traveling back through and making.
Maybe not even. At least my idea was like not necessarily collecting, but you're just like doing jobs for the admins, and that's kind of like your big big check mark or something. You know what I mean? Like,
and maybe I put the post game or the collecting aspect into the post game. Like once you're making up for it, now you're collecting them. Now you're actually building that happiness, and now you're actually kind of like doing the traditional route.
Post game starts where it's like, yeah, I want to turn my life around, Professor Oak, and he's like, all right, here you go. Like he's like, go get 151 of whatever. Yeah.
I think it'd be more of like I was undercover doing this for a reason, but like it took a toll on me. Like I'm taking some time off, and now I'm gonna
go find myself.
I'm gonna go find myself, and by doing that, I'm gonna try to do good along the way. So that's my entire game.
I like that, man.
I like it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's different, yeah.
When compared to Jordan's game and the entire novel that he brought, I feel like mine is.
To be fair, I think Jordan's been working on that pitch for like 10 years.
I said it to Austin. What I read that last time, that was like I worked on that for a week. I made a map. I started by finding a map. I looked at it long enough that I went, I disagree, and then I edited the map.
Jordan had diagrams and maps.
You guys never saw.
When we were planning this earlier too, I was like, "Whose pitch is it today? Is it mine?" And they go, "No, it's Austin's." And Jordan was like, "Mans was about to do his pitch like an hour before the recording." I was like, "Yes, I was."
I mean, 100%. This was a half hour today. All I had before today was "Prepare for Trouble," the title, which I think is pretty good, and then HD2D.
Yeah,
so that's all I had before.
No, because what I like is that it's Pokemon with a story, and I feel like.
That's that was like one of my main goals, is to make it like the focus point is slightly different than what you normally do, but you're still like leaning on the narrative.
And yours also, from what you're saying, like it's a more mature story, but it's not edgy. It's not the like my father died because he got shot by like Tony Soprano, but Pokemon like. Which is like what Haptos ROM has.
You're forced to do like shitty things because you had to do this to like stop what's happening.
Yeah. It's like you're playing the good guy, but you're doing bad things, and it's also like even at the worst, what you're doing is just like you're being a schoolyard bully. You're not like you're not dropping
murdering people.
Yeah, you're not dropping really heavy ferrothorns on people's arms and dumping them into the river.
I just think it, Jesus Christ. I just think it makes for good moments between the good rival and you, because the good rival is like seeing something in you that he can't quite quantify, and it's like, well, you're a piece of shit, but there's something about you. There's something about you,
right? Yeah.
So, did we decide what region this is in? Because I know we brought up like the whole Selby connection. Does that mean it has to be in that region?
I don't think so.
To me, because you're saying it's Team Rocket specifically and not like another evil team, I go, it has to be, I guess, Kanto and Johto. Kanto for Team Rocket and Johto because they've been there before, as well as Celebi.
With that in mind, I would be open to walking back it being Team Rocket. It could be Team something. I still think Pokemon Prepare for Trouble is just it's gonna stick regardless, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Team Rocket. But then again, you go like with the title, you're like, it has to be Team Rocket kind of a thing. So
yeah,
I like the idea of it being Kanto like years later. You know, gym leaders have changed. Like there's different people around. Like, but it's like there's still Celadon City and Vermilion and all that.
Yeah,
like 20 years later.
I mean, that's honestly half the reason I like have had this idea of like what's everyone's idea of like a dream game, or even like why I joke all the time that like I need Pokemon D&D, because I do wish sometimes rather than adding more content, they would give us more stories in the lore that they've given
100%.
us. Where it's like, yeah, you've given us Gold and Silver, which are, because it was the first sequels, lean so heavily on the first games. Why don't you give us a Johto game during the 3 years before when that's happening parallel? Why don't you tell us a different story in Kanto than the one that we've done before? So like, I'm with you. That like, it's why Legends I think was so well received.
Legends
because it's ancient Sinnoh. So. It's you get to see all these landmarks that you're familiar with in a new way. Like very cool.
Yep. And I also think it's a good opportunity to put a few of like the quests in there that are like typical of the anime. Like I said, one of the aspects I liked of Arceus was like find the Drifloon that's stealing all these children. Like it's like a typical Pokemon thing. Like I think throwing some of those in there before you get to the post game, and then having a lot of more better writing of those type of quests post game, I think makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
That's what I got. Pokemon Prepare for Trouble, as brought to you by Austin and friends, because they helped me out with a lot of the actual intricacies.
Friends.
What do you want? It's my idea.
No, I love
that. That's the credits right there by Austin and friends, based on characters by Ken Sugimori. Thank you for joining us so much, everybody. Remember, if you have a dream Pokemon game, reach out to us on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, anywhere you like, even in our Discord, which the link is going to be in the description down below, of course. That way we can get you on and you can tell us all about your dream Pokemon game. Next time, we're going to be doing Chris's, and then we're going to finish up this Elite Fours with Alex after that. And then it's going to be all guests. So reach out. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Hope you liked it.